Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank everybody for being part of this program. We got a very special guest today. I know this brother for years, beautiful brother. And before we start, of course, in the name of Allah, the beneficent and merciful, all praises due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Without Allah, there's nothing that can be in existence. And we want to ask Allah to give us the spirit to inspire, uplift, and educate us to be better human beings, brothers and sisters to one another. So without that being said, Brother Shaka, assalamu alaikum, dear brother.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Brother, it's an honor and pleasure to see you as always, brother.
The pleasure's mine.
I'm excited about the conversation plus the beautiful work that you do. So, my brother, would you do the honor of introducing yourself to the people, brother?
Yes, sir. My name is Brother Shaka X Green. I am the founder and executive director of Bravo Zulu Chess Academy, located in Washington, D.C., but providing services to children of all ages, really, all over the world at this point because we're virtual.
Yes, sir. So let's get into it, brother. Now, of course, your profession, brother, is an honorable profession. And, you know, I think a teacher, an educator should be one of the top 5 professions that's highly paid because you mold society, and nobody goes into a profession without a teacher. So I believe that title alone, outside mother and father, should be up there as far as that title is concerned, man. So I want to thank you for having the spirit of wanting to educate our people, our children, especially in mold the minds for our future for tomorrow. So we definitely want to thank you for that, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah.
Yes, sir. So tell us a little bit about your background as far as an educator, big brother.
So this is my 21st year, actually, of education. I started in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm originally a native Memphian, cut my teeth in Memphis City schools. I was there for a decade. I held several positions from classroom teacher, PDSCC, which is a professional development school compliance coach, assistant principal, school administrator. And then I was recruited to Washington, D.C. to continue that work. And it has been just a great journey. It's hard to believe that 20 years have gone by as quickly as they have. I have students now, former students who are my Facebook and Instagram friends who are in their 30s with children of their own. So time is undefeated.
Yes, sir. So as an educator, dear brother, you know, what are your challenges that you face in this day and age? I know time has changed. What are the challenges that you face as an educator?
It's interesting. When I first started, there was no such thing as cell phones for students. Children were just beginning to explore the internet, and now cell phones are ubiquitous. Everyone has one. Children have one. They have tablets. They have access to the entire world via TikTok videos and Instagram. And so what has happened is the world has become truncated. It's a lot smaller now. Information is readily available. But what I found is, by and large, my students don't have the same drive and enthusiasm to go out and really seek information. They want it spoon fed because with the modern applications that are on all of their electronic devices, it's a constant spoon feeding, and they don't have to be critical thinkers. They don't have to be researchers. So that has been the biggest difference in the past 20 years.
Yes, sir. So what is your expertise in your teaching? What is your field of study, brother?
So I'm licensed, certified, and highly qualified in all content areas K through 8. I have a special endorsement for mathematics. I can teach mathematics K through 12. That's typically what I fall back on. I'm currently a math and science teacher. STEM is the way that the planet is trending right now. If you don't have a background in STEM, you should start trying to get one, because in the next 15 to 20 years, it's all going to be digital, and everything digital is based on math and science.
Yes, sir. So as an educator, brother, what are your challenges, being that most of the schools are being virtual, but what are your challenges as far as you reaching your students? Because it has to be a certain love that you have to want to reach your students face to face, but being that we're virtual due to this pandemic, what is the challenges that you have, brother?
It has been an extremely challenging past, going on 14 months at this point. There's a big disconnect between the work that students are doing in the classroom or being asked to do and what their future goals and aspirations are. It's very interesting to hear students, they will be able to say, I want to be a doctor, a scientist, an engineer, and then they'll turn right around and say, well, I don't like math and science. And it's like, wait, you're going to have lots of math and science in order to be a doctor, scientist, or engineer. So what I try to get my students to do is really reverse engineer their future success. I have them look at where they want to be 20 years in the future, and then we start working backwards to actually get there, to paint that roadmap, that blueprint, and really have them to look critically and analytically at the steps that it will take to have that future success that they speak about.
Yes, sir. So what are the differences between when we went to school and now? Where do you see the barriers from the time that when we went to school years ago, and then the mindset of today of technology? We have the cell phone, the computers, everything is fast paced. So we didn't have those distractions back then. So what are
Right.
your challenges now in the classroom?
Scientific research has said that with the advent of the digital age that we're in, it has matured students about 36 months. So 10 is the new 13. Whatever we were thinking, doing, and feeling at 13 years of age in the 80s, children are thinking, doing, and feeling now at 10. And so that has really been the biggest thing, just elementary students having this level of maturity, thought, mind, and action that just was not present when we were their age. Also, parents have pulled back a lot more from when we were students. I can just think about my own parents. They were very involved with who my friends were, where I was going, when I was coming back. There was a set parameter and guidelines that I had to adhere to. And our modern student has exponentially more freedom than we did. And that freedom, as we know, is not necessarily a good thing without discipline and guidance.
Well, you spoke about discipline and guidance, and I know we're talking from a different generation where parents and teachers work hand in hand. Do
Yes.
you find that to be more challenging now that you may have some parent support and you may not? Does that make that hard for you as an educator?
So personally speaking, I have had the benefit of having exceptional parents. The parents who send their children to me are by and large those who are actively engaged in their children's lives, who love their parents. I love the saying that parents send us the very best children that they have. They don't keep like an extra set of really good kids and send them somewhere else. All parents love their children to the degree and capacity that they can. But we have to coach up each other. Parents have to have a relationship with their teachers where they can say, hey, this is my child. This is how he or she learns best. And this is how they thrive. And teachers need to have open and honest conversations with their children and say, hey, look, I know you love Raheem, but Raheem terrorizes my classroom every day. And he does this, and this documented. And it's not only keeping him from being successful, but it's also keeping other students successful. So when the stakeholders are able to come together and have authentic conversations, the children are better. But what has happened, I would say, over the last 10 to 15 years, the stakeholders being the administrators, the teachers, the parents, the district, the public, and by and large, have become adversaries. So it's a lot of finger pointing. It's a lot of, well, it's the teacher's fault, and well, it's the student's fault, and it's the parents' fault, and it's, we're all complicit in not helping students to be great. So we all have to come together to make sure that this product that we're ultimately trying to create and send out into the world is as beautiful and brilliant as possible.
Yes, sir. So you mentioned something very interesting, brother. You said put a product out into the world, and it's not in a negative sense, but you're talking about what you produced.
Right.
You feel that as a teacher that we are failing our students in society?
Yes. But that's only natural because society itself is a failure.
Right.
So something that is failing cannot produce things that are thriving. The way that this current society is set up, it is not designed to produce critical thinkers. It is not designed to produce anything more than laborers. There are a select few who are handpicked at a very young age and are allowed to sift through to give this illusion of success. But by and large, the masses of people are relegated at a very early age to working with their back and their hands and never really with their minds.
Well, I know.
It's flawed by design.
Yes, sir. I remember once upon a time when we was in school, you had shop class where it wasn't just all academics, but you got to go to wood shop, electric shop, plumbing, something that constantly stimulated your mind or give you some type of trade, something that you found what your interest was at a young age. As an educator, do you feel that those elements are missing now?
Well, they're missing, but they're not missing because they just poof evaporated. There was a deliberate and intentional plot, and I don't think that's too heavy of a word, to remove those vocational classes from schools, specifically public schools. A lot of the trade unions saw that these students were coming out of high school with this training, and they were infringing upon their quote unquote good jobs. HVAC, plumbing, these are exceptional jobs. Students can come out with only a high school education, get a certificate of completion, and go on to make $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 at 19 years of age, 20 years of age. And that was a threat to the laborers who had been there for 20, 30, 40 years, were planning to retire, get a pension. And so the unions were the ones who really pushed to pull a lot of the vocational classes out of high school, and the parents and the superintendents and the principals acquiesced and just allowed it to happen.
Wow, that's very interesting. Because I thought about, because I went to a technical vocational school, and one of the things that was prideful when you was in junior high school, your high school was just as important as picking a college.
Right.
And a lot of times, a lot of young brothers, that didn't want to go to a college after that, could have picked a good vocational school, got a trade, came out, and was able to earn a living, a good living, buy a home and those things. So as an educator, do you think that element being taken out has hurt our community or the community at large?
Absolutely, 1,000%. But it's not just that aspect. When the enemy attacks, he doesn't just attack from a single prong. He attacks in multiple ways simultaneously to destabilize. So you had the breakup of the home with some nefarious legislation where mothers and children could not receive welfare and food stamp benefits if there was a man present in the home. So men, by and large, began leaving the home. Then on top of that, you had the crack, which just devastated our communities for 2 generations. You had the uptick in gang violence. So you had all of that taking place, and then you're removing the vocation from the school. The factories left the urban neighborhoods, gentrification came in, property values dropped. So you had this multi-pronged, deliberate, intentional attack. And one of the last pillars, one of the last community anchors were the schools. And then the schools started being attacked by and large with the advent of charters and vouchers and all of these other things. But it's layered, it's systemic, it's deliberate, and we have to have an approach, a response that is just as layered, that is just as deliberate, that is just as systemic.
Yes, sir. So you mentioned, you discussed the children, but I know once upon a time the PTA was strong.
Yes,
I could speak upon that. When I was younger, the parent-teacher relationship was so strong, and community was so strong. It was nearly impossible as a young child growing up to do anything without an adult being involved.
Right.
And I know from growing up, the parent-teacher relationship was so tight that you had no choice but to elevate or do well. You really, really, really had to come from a bad background, and even if you wasn't financially in a good place, to really mess up, because everybody was always a support system, whether it be the principal, whether it be other teachers. They always found out what teacher could reach that student. What has changed, brothers, over that time from your perspective as an educator to why the PTA may not be as strong as it should be?
In certain places, it is still very strong. Some schools, some enclaves, some small pockets have incredible PTAs. I was at a school a couple of years ago where the PTA wanted music, and the school just didn't have it in their budget to have a music offering. The PTA within a calendar year had raised enough money to not only fund the position for the music teacher, but to fund all of the instruments in that classroom. So when they are organized and when the desire is there, the PTAs are still very strong. But by and large, it goes back to an earlier point that I made. Across the board, the PTAs have become very weak because parents are distracted. They're busy. We often have two-parent homes where mom and dad are at work all day, and the time just isn't there. When parents get home, they're tired. They still have to make dinner. They still have to clean up. And it's not necessarily to live a lavish lifestyle. Two incomes are a necessity to live in this world where we are. And in the few cases where there is a stay-at-home mom, sometimes parents don't feel welcome in the school. I've heard parents say, the principal doesn't want me there, or the teacher doesn't want me there. So again, there's this friction. Teachers and administrators and students, parents are now set up as adversaries against one another as opposed to allies.
Wow, that's interesting. So the parent-teacher relationship has dwindled, and I think you believe that's the reason why some schools are not doing as good as others. And you may see it from a different perspective because you see more of a parent involvement. So do you think that's the key? Of course, that's the key, but do you think that's the key to maybe fixing the educational problem around the country?
It is a key. It's not necessarily the key. There are high quality, high functioning schools that have relatively low parent participation. The parents, again, they're working class families. They just aren't able um, to attend the meetings. They're not able to make the back to school nights, the parent teacher conferences, but the schools are still very high functioning because the parents do something that's truly amazing. They actually send students to school. Students come, it has a root of studii, which literally means to study. Oftentimes, when you see a school that we would classify as dysfunctional, it's because parents have only sent children. They didn't send students. The parents who send a student to a school doesn't necessarily need to physically be in that building because they've sent their representative before them. The children bear witness to the parents. When I meet a student, I can tell who their parents are just by how they introduce themselves, how they position themselves, they posture themselves. Do they make eye contact? Do they speak with standard English when it's appropriate? Are they dressed appropriately? Are they groomed appropriately? Are they there for business? Or do they treat school as their personal show to turn up, to use an urban colloquialism?
Yes, sir. So just out of curiosity, brother, does it really matter the ethnicity if good education is there? Do you think it's an even playing field to say that if you have a good educational system, a good support system, it doesn't matter what ethnicity is in place, or does that matter?
I think it definitely matters. It has been my experience that we teach people who look like us with a little bit more love, compassion, care. A child can get a great education from any teacher. It doesn't matter what that teacher looks like. Just in my experience, though, Black teachers care about Black children in a way that their white, Asian, and Hispanic counterparts don't. There are good white, Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern educators who treat children fairly and teach at a very high level. But from a good Black teacher teaching a student, a child that looks like them, or could be their niece or could be their son, there's just another level of intimacy that's present that will get the most hardened student to respond, the student who maybe 2 to 3 grade levels behind. The data supports this, that when a student is behind 1 grade level, it takes 2 to 3 years of having a strong, consistent teacher in front of that child to get them up. However, if you have an excellent child who's intimately engaged and involved with that student can move from 2 grade levels behind to being on grade level within 1 academic school year.
And no, brother, you made a great point. 'Cause I remember in my in junior high school, my 8th grade, and she was one of my best teachers to this day. I still remember her. Her name is Miss Rose. And Miss Rose, day one, because back then you wasn't used to having a black teacher.
Right.
Well, when Miss Rose came in, she had that stern auntie feel. You know, she had a natural little afro, wore a little lip gloss, but you could tell she was a little militant in the same aspect.
Yes, sir.
And the first thing she did when she came in the classroom, she laid the law down. Just like, you know, you go to anybody's house, the mom let you know, you don't touch this, you don't touch that. But she was very stern, and it was different. And like I said, we had a classroom of some of the best, how can I put it? We had some of the best misbehaved young men that you could possibly imagine. It's that small few, but
master mischief makers.
Right, there you go. That's a good way of putting it. Politically correct. But she had a demand in the room as soon as she walked in, and she put it in check in a loving way that resonated with us, because we seen our mother in her. We seen our aunt, our grandmother. You know, we seen an authority figure that we're familiar with the language, and it played a large part with a lot of the students of color that was in there, because it was predominantly a Black and Hispanic school. But she taught us in a way that you remember so many things. She taught us poetry. I never read Helen Keller in my life, but it was amazing how she taught about a young girl who was blind and deaf, and how she showed that no matter those obstacles, as a mute, she still overcame, you know, those challenges. And she paraphrased that with our lives, for urban children to not give up. You have no excuse. You have all your senses, and that's the point she was making. And the thing was, for us to have a passing grade, good brother, some of the hardest students had to go in front of the classroom, and for you to pass Miss Rose's class, you had to read a poem in front of everybody. And and back then, that's when the zero was very powerful. You know what I'm saying? Where, you know, you did something wrong, that zero was very powerful. But she made us step out of our comfort zone, in other words. You know what I'm saying? That's how good of a teacher is. And me right now, at 48 years of age, remember a teacher way back then, that kind of influence, you know what I'm saying, that impact, as you mentioned, a teacher of color. Not saying I have beautiful teachers of all ethnicities, but something of having someone that looks like you in front of you, you know what I'm saying, showing you love, being stern, and making sure you see the world a different way, definitely carried weight, man. So I can definitely understand that perspective that you're saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you being a Black educator, a Black man in front of the classroom, of course we deal with stereotypes. What are the challenges you deal with as an educator when you might deal with other ethnicities, seeing you as a Black man teaching and you speaking properly?
So I'm 6'4". So normally the students assume that I'm the coach. I coach something, and I like coaching. So I've often been the coach. I coach track and basketball, but I'm also a content specialist. I teach English, and I teach math, and I teach science, and I teach reading. And so it's getting over that hurdle sometimes with both students and parents that I am knowledgeable. I am skilled at what I do. I'm an expert educator. I speak all over the country. I sit on panels. I get invited to present content. So I am very good, by Allah's permission, at the work that I do. But there is a bit of a warming up period that has to take place with the students, because very often I'm the very first Black male teacher that my students have had. And so it's kind of like the pink pony, like, oh, wait, you really do exist. Yeah, I do. So let's sit down and get to work.
Is that challenging for you every school year? We get new students. You have to constantly reintroduce yourself in that manner. Is that, or you just got to a point where you're just used to it?
It's just second nature. I think what works well for me is my consistency, and I think all educators that are really good at what they do, one of their hallmarks is consistency. So it's a formula that year in, year out. And students talk, they're like, oh, you go in Miss Green's class, you better, so they know that I'm tough. I'm going to be extremely hard on them. I have a standard of excellence, but I am also very fair and I try to be relatable. So I don't really think about the challenge. I know I'm cognizant that it's there, but I just don't think about it.
Yes, sir. So I'm asking, getting to, you have various ways of reaching out students. You're a math teacher. You also, teach English, you said, I believe, and you also teach science. And of course, mathematics and science is a universal language of saying that, once you master that, you can master anything. And one
Absolutely.
of the things that I was so intrigued about you, brother, was chess. And one thing about chess, that's the thinking man's game.
Yes.
And if you're in the street, that's where you talk the most trash. And I know plenty of times that we had in the barbershops, the chessboard is always there.
Yes, sir.
And that's one of the ultimate peace makers right there, because you have to use your intelligence in order to win. There's no cheating. You can't cheat. You either
Right.
know the game or you don't.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
So let's talk about your organization, Bravo Zulu Chess Academy, brother. You want to tell the listener audience a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. We really had very humble beginnings. I had no intention of starting a nonprofit. I couldn't foresee the success that we've had. I just had a student. He wasn't even my student. He was the student in the classroom next door. But every other day there would be some violent outburst. This kid threw chairs and desks and punched and kicked and slammed doors. He was constantly being sent out. On his way to the dean of students office, I often had to act as a mediator. And I just sat him down one day and I said, you know what? You like to fight. You have all this aggression. Let's fight on the chessboard. And we just began playing during lunch. And what started as just he and I as just an outlet, an incentive for him to stay out of trouble. If you are able to stay in class all morning, we'll play chess at lunch. That grew to kids sitting around and, oh, my granddad played chess and I kind of know. So we started playing in the mornings. Kids would show up an hour before school would start. And it grew from 3 to 15 to 30 to 70. We would have a library sometimes with 100 students just playing. And I had the epiphany to say, you know what, let's compete. So we started signing up for tournaments. And what just started out as a hobby, something fun to do to keep children out of trouble, we were able to show our brilliance and our mastery on the chessboard. We have been very blessed to be 7-time Mid-Atlantic regional champions, 7-time Washington, D.C. city champions, 3-time Baltimore city champions. We've won multiple grade level championships, a host of other championships. And the trophies, I would tell the students all the time, the trophies don't matter. They're just cheap plastic. If you drop them, they'll break. What matters is the work that you've put in to accomplish this goal. This work is a transferable skill. Once you discipline yourself, you dedicate yourself, you wake up early, you stay up late, you study, you ask questions, you become frustrated. Those skills you can apply to any other discipline throughout life. And I'm seeing students who were DC students at best. They're now college freshmen, dean's list. They are graduating top of their class in the next couple of years. It's just been a beautiful, beautiful ride to see.
Yes, sir. So the discipline in chess, I know it's definitely a thinking person's game
Yes.
and it requires patience. What transformation have you seen? Because I know you just mentioned that you dealt with at-risk youth. What transformations can you tell? Any testimonies you can tell that that game of chess have changed that individual's life? Can you share a story with us?
So without naming the particular student, the student who was a chronically in trouble, he was a master mischief maker, as I like to say. That student is now graduating. He graduates next year from the #1 public high school in Washington, D.C. He's in the top 10 of his class. He has already started receiving scholarship offers. He has not been our best chess player. There have been chess players who have far surpassed his level of skill, but in terms of what real success is, it's transforming people. It is having the ability to look back at who you used to be and seeing who you used to be as an unrecognizable character. And he and I, we're in a group chat with a couple of other students, and we laugh and joke and play all the time, but we are constantly talking about where we came from. And it is very important that you have a real idea of where you came from, who you used to be, because it really frames who you are now. That particular student, he gets frustrated sometimes. The work is difficult. He's at a tough school. And sometimes it feels like he's swimming upstream. And then I'll just say, remember that kid who used to throw a desk? And he's like, all right, Green, I got you. And it just reframes him and it gets him right back on course. So he by far is what I consider the best success story.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And what came to mind, brother, has the game of chess. I play chess as well. Maybe not at certain levels, but I understand the the discipline it creates in a person
Yes, sir.
because it humbles you because you can't, you know, it doesn't require you to have fists. It doesn't require you to be physically strong, but your intelligence to be able to think 3 or 4 steps ahead. Or like in mathematics, it's probability of asking, okay, why did that person move a certain piece a certain way? For those who play chess, you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Has the game of chess improved the students' academics, what I'm saying, in reference to how they improved in their schoolwork? Like you mentioned, the student used to be very hostile in the classroom, but because chess requires you to be more subtle, more relaxed, have you seen that as a way of being therapeutic, in other words, and helping them with the education?
Yes, sir. I haven't done it in a while, but about 4 years ago, I ran a data analysis. I tracked the students over a 24-month period of time. I tracked their attendance, their academic output, any type of behavioral infractions. And every single student that we had in our program, I believe it was 56 students at that particular time, showed exponential growth. It wasn't just linear growth. They didn't just kind of do better. Every single student had measurable exponential growth. They were in school more consistently. I didn't have a single disciplinary infraction from any of my students in that 2-year cycle. All of the students improved. Most of the students, in all fairness, were already really good students, but the students who were not good students or who were borderline good students, they all improved to become good students. Chess is a math game. It's 64 squares and 32 pieces. I mean, inherently, you are constantly solving very high level algebraic equations. You are looking at the information that you have, and you're trying to solve for or fill in the information that you don't have. And you're sitting across from an opponent who's doing the same things, and you're trying to make the equation balance. If I do, then he or she does, and then when he or she does, then I'll do. that inherently is algebra. And my chess students go on to be great math students. And oftentimes they may have had a fear or phobia of math.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Now, I'm gonna ask you a personal question, brother, and I know as an educator, you're pretty much like a coach,
Yes,
where
sir.
you're actually seeing your work come into fruition,
Yes, sir.
and that is like a proud father,
Yeah.
seeing your children out there achieving. How does
Yes.
it feel to see an at-risk student at a championship game in a chess tournament? What is that like for you, brother?
Um, it's like being in labor and delivery as your wife is preparing to bring children into the world. It's really an undescribable feeling. Saturday mornings were always the highlight. Just the anticipation of these children who have some type of opinion of themselves, and it falls on the spectrum to I'm not smart to I'm the smartest kid in the class, and they were all right and all wrong at the same time. Having them go to a tournament where oftentimes the only black and brown children in this tournament were the ones who rode on the van with us, and there would be hundreds of kids there. We would have the opportunity to cause cognitive dissonance in the best way, because we would walk in and it would be like the proverbial record scratcher, like, and everybody would look like, who are they? Why are they here? Most of the tournaments that we attended, the people were extraordinarily nice and gracious to us. But sometimes we would go to tournaments and people would be making monkey sounds and animal sounds and, calling our kids N words and using all kind of disparaging language. And it was just the rush of when the ceremony took place at the end of the day, and name after name after name were students from our program, and we would walk away with all of the trophies. And again, the trophies don't matter, but they are a tangible representation of the work that had been put in. And what we were doing, we were ambassadors for Black people. And I would tell my students that all the time. Some of these children that we are interacting with have never seen a real live Black person. They think everybody is Lil Wayne and Lil Kim. That's what they think about Black people. So you're going to walk a certain way, talk a certain way, and you don't have to walk with a stick in your back as if you are some fraudulent caricature, but you are the best version of yourself, because they're never going to meet your mom. They're never going to meet your dad, but you're representing them. You're representing your teachers. You're representing your principals. And when you win graciously. You shake hands and you use the best manners, because the impression that you leave with these people will last a lifetime, just like your teacher, Miss Rose, left that impression on you. People will forget what you said. They'll forget even what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that's a point that I constantly would push on our students, that, yeah, we came here to win. We didn't come here for second place. And it feels good when we see that mission accomplished, but we were always well aware that we could throw it all away if we started acting other than ourselves.
Well, what kind of support did you get from not the teachers, but from the parents that actually see their child go from one level of behavior or their academic level not being up to par to being in your class, whether it be the math, science, or English, to actually being in a chess tournament? What kind of self-esteem did that game of chess do for the students?
For the students and the parents, you just saw them. My parents are phenomenal. Every single parent to a person who has participated in our program has been nothing short of phenomenal. The pride that they see when they look at their child, who, again, a lot of them were constantly getting in trouble. The only phone calls that the parents would ever get from the school is, Malik's in trouble again. Yeah, I know, Ebony is doing it again. and to now say, to see their child in the school newsletter for winning first place at a chess tournament. And there's this certain association with chess that people who play chess are naturally intelligent. That's not true. People who play chess just work hard and they think before they act. And that's the transferable thing that has helped our students. They have become thinkers. They have now postured and positioned themselves to say, what are my actions going to net me? What are the consequences of me doing or saying this thing? And that's what they've gotten from the chessboard. So, if they don't go on to be multi-billionaires and buy their good old coach a Ferrari, that's fine. They are better people. And I thank Allah for the opportunity.
Well, brother, you said something that definitely sparked a thought. And the reason I'm so passionate about the game of chess, years ago, I was a master barber since the age of 15. I have a very unique background, but I was a master barber since the age of 15.
Yes, sir.
But one of the things about being in the barbershop was that chessboard. You can have all walks of life come in there, the hardest person. It don't matter who you are, but when you get behind that chessboard, it humbled you. It humbled you.
Yes, sir.
And it was a thinking man's game where you respect the man's intellect and people get to live at the end of the day. So I'm thinking along the lines is, do you think or do you believe by giving urban communities or at-risk communities opportunities to be critical thinkers by using chess as a tool, that maybe we can curb some of the violence that we see daily?
1000%. It's been shown multiple times. Our good brother here in DC, brother Eugene Brown, he's moved to North Carolina. He founded Big Chair Chess Program in Southeast DC, and he did remarkable work. There are many cases all around the country where educators or people from the community have introduced chess to children, to gang members, to all different populations from all different walks of life. And chess inherently has a degree of civility to it. You start the game with a handshake and you wish your opponent good luck. There are very few arenas that start like that. And win, lose, or draw at the end of the game, you shake your opponent's hand again and you say, good game. That civilizes, it takes the tension away from the thing. It takes the bite away from it. We still hate losing, but we don't hate our brother or our sister or whoever it is that's sitting across from us. We want to get back into the laboratory and perfect our craft. It should be part of every school's curriculum. It should be taught like any other subject, like math or science or reading or art. It is just something that has so many benefits that I'm just surprised that it hasn't been done whole scale.
Well, before we go to the phone lines, brother, I want to ask you just something that I'm thinking about. How, because of your success, have other organizations, other parents, or other places of interest approach you about your organization actually being something that can be used in the school system? I know we're dealing with systematic racism where we don't always get the best funding in our community. Sometimes, like you said, the parents work, and sometimes the parents came up a certain way. But I believe that chess is affordable to get, to put some pieces up, and then it allows critical thinking and how to think under pressure, especially if you're working underneath the clock. Right. So do you believe that your organization, if given the opportunity, can help out challenge schools across the country with your success story?
Absolutely. I know that we can, because the vast majority of my instructors now are my former students. So they bear witness to the success of the program. During our summer camp, we're gearing up now for our summer camp. All of our instructors during the summer are children, still children themselves, but they are children who have matriculated through our program. And it's been duplicated, replicated. This is now year 9 for us. Next year, we God willing, we look forward to celebrating 10 years of doing this work. And we've done it across socioeconomic statuses. We've done it across demographics. We've done it with at risk. We've done it with what we call 4 garage kids. Parents, are in the upper 7 figures. It's just a game that, like you said earlier, it levels the playing field. It doesn't matter how big, tall, strong, fast, what your abilities are, what your disabilities are. You have to sit down and contend with the person across from the other side.
Yes, sir. It's a beautiful thing that you have people appreciating you, brother. And as your brother, and I definitely want to support you of what you're doing. And as a chess player, I know the benefit of the game.
Yes,
and this
sir.
is why I'm very passionate about when I spoke to you about this, because I see the benefit of it. When we can get people to actually sit down outside of, a sport. Boxing is great, playing basketball is great.
Right.
But one thing about chess, you can definitely relate it to everyday life. So how do you teach your students how to use chess in everyday life? Because everything, even though we say it metaphorically, everything is a game of chess. How do you teach your students that same way you apply chess, you apply it to everyday life? Because they're not going to always be around Mr. Green all the time. So how do you teach them how to apply those principles in their everyday life?
So there are a couple of different approaches that I take. One of the things that I use with the younger students, I talk about the pawns being children, the king being the father, the queen being the mother, the bishops being the aunt and the uncle, and I go through this story of how the children move out, and once they move forward, they sometimes can't come back home. Like, you move forward, the pawn is the only piece that can't move backwards. Once you're out there, you're out there. So make sure that when you're out there, you're ready to step out there, and make sure that you have some support from your other brothers and sisters. You got a big family, so use your support. But sometimes you get a hard-headed sibling, a hard-headed pawn that steps out there by themselves, and they get picked off. But what that does is it sends a message to everybody else and say, oh, you saw that? We need to stick together. That's just one aspect. But one of the points that I hammer home a lot, chess is a lot like life in that you have sometimes the opportunity to fix your mistakes. But sometimes you make a blunder early that you never recover from. You blunder a rook, you blunder a queen, you lose these major pieces, and your game goes downhill from there because your opponent is able to now just dominate you. And that's how life is. You jump in the car with your partner, your partner roll up in the 745 BMW, and he doesn't have a license. He doesn't have money. Where the car come from? Sitting on 26-inch rims, system blast, and all you thinking about is how fly we gonna be when we turn the block. But what happens when the police get behind you and light you up? I'm just a kid doesn't work when you've now been charged with grand theft auto, and you have to you're remanded to juvenile detention for 5 to 7 years. That retards your growth. It slows you up. But conversely, what happens when you make well thought out moves? What happens when you develop your pieces properly? What happens when you listen to good guidance and you're slow with your pawns and you get your knights and your bishops out and you're defending and you're protected? The game is so easy. And that's how life is. If you're listening to good guidance and you have people who are protecting you and nurturing you, and they're following you as you move out into the world, life can be very, very good for you.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question, brother, because, and chess players will notice, and those who are listening, the game is phenomenal. I would suggest to anyone, learn the game of chess. If you're rusty, take it out your closet, put it on your dining room table, or buy you a nice set. They got some beautiful collections of chessboards you can buy if you want to actually place it in your home as a statue or just decoration of your home. It speaks volumes, that chessboard. But one thing I want to ask you, brother, your assessment, maybe your female students may appreciate that queen. Everybody hates losing that queen. They do everything they can to protect that queen because it's a very powerful piece because it can move everywhere on the board, except in the direction of the knight. How can you, as a teacher and a coach of chess, tell our sisters the beauty of that game of chess and how powerful that queen is and how you can relate it to today's society?
So that's a phenomenal question. With all things considered, students starting at the same level, my young ladies are always the better chess players. A 10-year-old girl is always a better student than a 10-year-old boy, just because they develop from a cognitive standpoint quicker. And one of the things that I always tell them is your queen is your most valuable piece on the board, but the king is the most important. If you lose your queen, she's the chief protector of the king. Who protects the king when your queen is gone? If I have middle school students, high school students, I start talking about their adolescence and their puberty and their development. I said, you all get in trouble because you all are trying to impress these girls. Nobody has ever told you how to actually approach and keep and take care of a woman. If you did, you would have far fewer problems. Most of the fights in middle school are about a girl. Most of the posturing and the showing out and the stun and I'm going to sell a little dope so I can get fresh. You're not getting fresh for your boys. You're getting fresh for that girl. If you actually had real conversations, somebody was guiding you and teaching you how to get and keep a queen, how to protect and take care of a queen, you would have far fewer problems in life. And again, as we've said, chess is a life game. If you protect your queen, you're going to be just fine. That's
Yes.
the nugget.
Yes, sir. And that queen helps you with that checkmate in so many ways. And you beautifully articulated that, brother. And I think it makes, for those who are listening, let's get behind our brother, and what he's doing and his efforts, because I know the brother personally. He has a beautiful heart, and what he's doing is phenomenal, and we definitely want, and I love the name, brother. Bravo Zulu Chess Academy. Why Bravo Zulu, brother?
I was an old salty dog at one point in time. Served in the United States Navy. I had the honor and the privilege to get myself together. And in nautical terms, a Bravo Zulu is a job well done.
Yes, sir.
So my time in the Navy was so pivotal in my growth and development as a man that I felt that I wanted to incorporate that. But the synergy doesn't stop there. My first name is Shaka. I was named after the king of the Zulus, one of the greatest military strategists, generals, warriors, leaders that history ever knows. So when we go into battle, when we would go to tournaments, we would hear kids whispering, "Here come the Zulus, here come the Zulus." And just as King Shaka would do, we would try to leave nothing left. We want the trophies, the medals, the plaques. We want your Safeway card. We want your Easy Pass. Turn your pockets inside out. Whatever you have, we want it. And that really just played into our mythos. Chess is a psychological game. So we would walk in with this mystique of, oh man, here come the Zulus. So it was just such great synergy. It just shows the beauty and the majesty of Allah to bring this together, because I can't take credit for any of it. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be coaching chess.
Yes, sir. Brother, this was one of my favorite interviews, brother, because of course, anybody who's a chess player, it's like you see a chessboard, especially if, with men, we're going to talk trash when we play chess. It depends
Yes,
on
sir.
who you playing with.
Yes, sir.
But just in closing, brother, I owned a barbershop some years ago back in New York. beautiful African brother, very quiet, very quiet, very smooth brother. And he will come in because, in the barbershop, we talk trash and, you went in and you just dominate the board, taking rooks, taking everything, what have you.
Yes,
But
sir.
this brother was a critical thinker. And the thing with how he got us, because he was so patient and slow in his movement, he counted us with our impatience
That's right.
to move.
Yes, sir.
So what he would do is he'll move, he'll open up with his rook and he'll move his knight. Then you counter that. It'll take him about 2 or 3 minutes to make the next move.
Right.
And you're sitting there, you already thinking about the next 4 or 5, but he's counting on you to be impatient.
Yes.
It'll say in order for to him to put you in the position that he's in. But I say it to say, brother, there's so many life lessons in that game. And in closing, I really want you to actually promote on this platform the how people get in touch with you, how can they support you. 'Cause I know you got a virtual class. I want you to create the best commercial possible for your organization, brother, because I want you to be not national but international what you're doing. Because just imagine if we can just, instead of wars, everybody sat down and played a game of chess. And at the end of the day, no matter who lost, you just shook hands.
Yes, sir.
That's a beautiful vision to have. Or
Absolutely.
if somebody's in a gang, hey man, it's use your intellect, and guess what? You get to live. So, brother, please use this time right now, good brother, to actually promote what you're doing, how people get in touch with you, the websites, anything you need to use, brother. My platform is yours. Have at it, brother.
Yes, sir. So first of all, I would like to thank you, Brother Vaughn, for giving me the opportunity to just come on and to speak to you. It's always good to talk to you, brother. I miss you and I love you, and I'm glad to see that you're doing well and you're thriving.
Like,
Uh,
yes,
we
sir.
we can be reached at www.bravozuluchess.org. That takes you right to our website. You can see our history. It'll take you through our journey. You can have an opportunity to meet some of our players who started as babies and now they're young adults. There is a link on that site that takes you, it gives you the opportunity to sign up for any of our programs that you may be interested in. We are currently running our after school program. We meet Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Mondays, we meet from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are gearing up for our second virtual summer camp. We typically meet in person and we do all of the things that you would normally see in a camp: field trips and outdoor activities with lots and lots of chess. But due to COVID restrictions, we will be virtual again this year. That camp will meet starting on, I don't have the date right in front of me, but I believe it's June 28th. I'm pulling my calendar up right now, so don't hold me to that. It's Monday, June 28th through Friday, August the 6th. It starts at 9 a.m. and ends at 12 p.m. You can have children as young as 6 all the way up to 16. We teach you the game from beginning, take you from this is how to set up the board to by the time the camp is over, we'll have you ready to compete in tournaments. It's a fun, stress-free environment. Again, most of our instructors are children. So it's children teaching children for the most part. And you just see the energy. They grow so rapidly. They fall in love with the game. And they really become lifelong. But we do travel. We're all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. We travel as far as the Midwest. We teach programs to do what we do. We don't charge a fee for that. But if you bring in one of our instructors, we just ask that you cover the cost of room and board and travel. But the service itself is free.
Praise be to Allah, brother. Hey, man. Like I said, brother, I love you as well, brother. I appreciate you, brother. I truly enjoy this conversation, and of course, once you get that situated, you definitely get our support, brother. And please let us know what we can do to assist you, because it takes a village or a community to actually see this work. And I think that this game of chess, this beautiful game of chess, could be one of the curbing tools that we can use to stop the violence and teach our young people critical thinking. At the end of the day, you get to shake hands, but you live.
That's right.
You live to see another day, to actually come back and challenge yourself again to that game of chess that you will eventually begin to love. So, with that being said, brother, I appreciate you, brother. And Allah continue to bless you, brother, what you're doing. My platform is your platform. So anything you got going on, and you say, hey, brother, I want to promote a segment, or you got a testimony that you want to share to get it out to the people, please, by all means, brother. This is why I created this platform, for stories like this that don't normally get out there the way they should. And I think that more stories like yours, brother, and brothers like yourself that are doing what you're doing can actually, teach others how to use conflict resolution in this arena, brother. I think we can save a lot of lives, brother. So I think a lot for you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
All right, may Allah bless you, brother, and may those who joined us, thank you for being part of the program. Inshallah, we'll do it again next week. And if you need to get in touch with Brother Shaka, you can also go to myself, Brother Levon X Community Reporting. I will be putting up the information at the end of the credits of this program. And please, let's save lives. If this inspired you at any way to actually bring peace, go out, get a chessboard. It's very inexpensive, and it's better than actually having your children on the cell phone 24/7. You get to actually engage one-on-one thinking, critical thinking elements that you can use as part of your life. So, my brother Levon X, thank you once again. Inshallah, we'll see each other soon. Brother Shaka, hit me up anytime you want, brother. We can make it happen.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Alaikum salam, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.